So you'd like to know about dry laying in mosaics? Well, you're in the right place. I'm Helen Miles, and I'm here to teach you all the tips and tricks you need to make mosaics. Let's start off very quickly by just considering what dry laying is. So dry laying is when you're not permanently setting your tesserae. You're cutting them and laying them without glue, without thinset, to see whether you like where they're placed. And it's part of the planning process and it's part of the making process. But what I want to explain is how much a part of it is. It's partly a question of personal preference, but it's partly a question of technique and letting go of the dry laying and moving forward and placing permanently. So when I'm making representational mosaics, which have particular details in them, like this fish, I tend to cut the areas which are fiddly and require more concentration, dry lay them and make sure that everything fits, and then glue them. So this is obviously just a design drawing. It's not been transferred onto its permanent base. But if it was transferred and I was ready to make it, I would cut these and then check them. And the reason I do this is obviously that the pieces are fiddly at this point, and you want to make sure that they fit together, that you're happy with your cuts, and it's all going to kind of look right. And if I was cutting as I was laying, I would be dealing with the glue and the cuts and the glue kind of drying as I was cutting. So it's just easier on fiddly bits where you want to get it right to do a dry lay, check it, remove them, and then glue, so that you're not dealing with cutting and gluing at the same time. When I'm working on the rest of the fish, this is the same fish. Look, there's the eye now complete, and you can see most of the whole mosaic is made with simple quarter-size pieces cut down from a single tile. So therefore, I would cut lots of quarter sizes, have a mix. I've already chosen my colours, and I don't need to do much dry laying because it's quite a simple design. I would do a bit more dry laying here, perhaps around the eye, to make sure again that the pieces fit together, that I like the cuts, and then I'd stick them. But I never dry lay more than, let's say, maximum 6 to 8 pieces before I glue them, because they can move and they will change once they're placed. So you're kind of replicating your work. You're making more work for yourself if you're doing too much dry laying. As you can see, I've done quite a bit of dry laying on this one. I haven't actually stuck anything yet. And the reason I'm doing that is this isn't really a dry lay in the sense of cutting and then dry laying and then placing. This is more part of the planning stage. So what I'm doing here is checking the colours and just seeing if I like how everything's working. And of course, I don't technically need to dry lay it, but I just find it gives me that extra level of sort of assurance when I can see the pieces that I'm going to be placing in context and see how they work with the other pieces around them. So that's, I'm not going to go much further than this, and then I'm going to take all that away and start the actual process of making. This planning exercise is a really good illustration. Well, I can use it as a really good illustration to show why dry laying when you're making a mosaic is not a very good idea. At least it's not when you do it to this extent. So essentially, a tiny move and everything's gone. Everything's out of place. So, you might be working, stand up, turn around, and just accidentally knock your mosaic, and all your hard work is ruined. So I don't recommend dry laying large portions. If you're making a more complicated mosaic, or you simply want more time to consider the tesserae, consider your pieces and move them around, then you have two methods to choose from. This is the stuff you need. It's called sticky back plastic, and I think it's used for covering books and lining drawers and things. And you just get the plain one and you peel back a layer, and then you get the sticky surface here. It's called contact paper in America. And essentially this one doesn't seem to be too sticky. I think it's because it's rather old. So if you buy it, when you buy it fresh, it will be much stickier than this. And you can lay your tesserae on it and they will stay on temporarily, obviously, just so that you can work out how you want your design to look. Another really good temporary surface is clay. I've just got a board here. It's just a piece of marine ply, and I've covered it with a layer of plastic. So you can use anything really. A shopping bag is fine. And I've stapled it down and created a kind of, parcel so that I can keep the clay dry when I'm not working. And so this can be used again and again, and all I'm doing is I've got a piece of clay and I'm pressing it down to get a nice flat surface. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course, because I'm using it as a temporary base. So I'm just placing the tesserae in here so that I can work out my design, work out the way I want the andamento to run, and then I can remove the tesserae one by one and put them into the permanent thin-set base. So I'll do a little illustration of that. So I'm just pressing them in fairly lightly. Oops. And the clay will hold them. And the really lovely thing about it is it will hold them over a period of time. So of course you can fold up your parcel, go away, come back tomorrow, and the clay will still be damp. It's quite a good idea to spritz it, give it a very, very light coating of water if you're going to be using it over a longer period, just to keep it moist. So yeah, you get the idea there. So as I said, the clay is a temporary base. So you're just pressing your pieces in order to work out what you want to do, and then you're putting them into a permanent base. But I just wanted to show you this because I was just playing around. There was no real intent here, it was just an experiment. And I was using clay as a temporary base. And I must have made this about 18 months ago. And then I thought, well, I quite like it. I want to leave it. So I wrapped it up. But despite wrapping it, the clay is totally hard. But the pieces are pretty solid in there. So although I couldn't, well, maybe I could remove them. I still have what I have made, so then I could replicate it again. So it's quite versatile, the clay, and I'd really recommend giving it a go, seeing whether it can work with your practice. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, then please subscribe below.